You're staring at your bank account on a Wednesday night. Not because anything went wrong, just because something feels off. The number looks fine, roughly what it was last month. And yet, somehow, at the end of every month, there's never quite as much left as there should be. You're not buying anything crazy. You're not making obvious mistakes. You're just treading water, and nobody has ever explained why. That feeling has a name, and it has a cause, and almost none of it is your fault. Because the system you've been operating inside your entire adult life has rules that nobody ever bothered to tell you. You were handed a debit card at 18, pointed at the world, and told to figure it out, which is insane. Because if you don't know the rules, the system wins every time. Quietly, politely, with a terms and conditions document you definitely didn't read. Here's the number that should make you furious. Financial illiteracy costs Americans $246 billion every year. That's nearly $1,000 per person per year, silently disappearing because nobody taught us this stuff. Meanwhile, we spent 3 years in school learning photosynthesis. Twice. Nobody's checking chlorophyll levels at 32. But everybody's getting a mortgage. My name is Nick, and today that changes. 10 concepts, the real rules of the game, finally explained. Meet Sarah. She's 28, makes $65,000 a year, has about $4,000 sitting in her checking account, and genuinely believes she's doing okay. She's not blowing money on anything crazy. She checks her balance, sees the same number she saw last month, and figures everything is fine. It isn't. And here's why. That $4,000 is losing value right now. Not because Sarah did anything wrong, just because of something called inflation. The slow, invisible process by which prices rise over time and each dollar buys a little less than it used to. Since 2020, cumulative inflation has run about 25%. That means $100 of groceries in 2020 costs roughly $125 today. Sarah's bank balance didn't change. What it can buy absolutely did. Think of it like this. Leaving money in a checking account is like leaving an ice cube on the kitchen counter. It looks fine when you walk away. You come back an hour later and it's smaller. You didn't do anything wrong. Physics, or in this case, the economy, just happened while you weren't paying attention. The average checking account earns about 0.01% interest per year. Inflation runs 2 to 3%. Which means money sitting in checking loses 2 to 3% of its purchasing power every single year. Put $10,000 in there for a decade, and inflation quietly erodes about $2,500 of what it's worth, while the bank pays you roughly $10 for the privilege of borrowing it. You are subsidizing the bank. The bank is not helping you. The fix is straightforward. Keep 1 to 2 months of expenses in checking. Everything else that's cash goes into a high-yield savings account, where you can currently earn 4 to 5% annually, and anything you won't need for 5+ years needs to be doing a lot more than sitting in savings, which is what the next concept is about. Sarah just opened a high-yield savings account and feels pretty smart about it. Good. But there's a bigger opportunity she's still missing, and a bigger trap she might already be standing in. Both involve the same concept: compound interest. You earn interest on your money, then the next period you earn interest on the original amount plus the interest you already earned. The base keeps growing, so the growth keeps accelerating. It's not a straight line. It's a curve that starts almost flat and eventually goes nearly vertical. Warren Buffett is worth over $100 billion. More than 99% of that wealth was accumulated after his 50th birthday. He started investing as a teenager. For decades, the numbers barely looked impressive. Then, compound interest hit its vertical phase and the results became almost fictional. He didn't get smarter in his 70s. He just let the math run long enough. Sarah starts putting $200 a month into an index fund at 28, earning a historical average of about 8% annually. By 65, she has roughly $480,000. Her colleague waits until 38 to start the same plan. Same $200, same 8%, same retirement age. He ends up with about $220,000. That gap isn't talent or income. It's time inside a compounding system. Now, flip the snowball over. Compound interest works identically on debt. The average credit card charges about 22% interest. If Sarah has $6,500 in credit card debt, right around the national average, and she's making minimum payments, it takes over 14 years to pay it off. and she'll pay nearly $6,500 in interest alone. She will have paid double the original balance just to slowly hand money to a bank that already has plenty of it. At 22%, debt doubles in about 3 years. While her investments double every 7 to 9 years, her credit card balance doubles every 3. Making minimum payments while telling yourself you're managing it is like bailing out a sinking boat with a teaspoon. Technically activity, not actually working. The takeaway, start investing something, anything, as early as possible. And if you're carrying high interest debt, it goes before almost everything else because it is compounding against you at a rate your investments cannot outrun. Every year, real people turn down raises, not because they don't want more money, because they've convinced themselves they'll somehow end up with less of it after taxes. And every time this happens, somewhere a financial advisor ages 5 years in a single afternoon. Let me be direct about something. The fact that this misunderstanding is this widespread is not an accident. It is genuinely in some people's interest for you to believe that earning more money is dangerous. If you're scared of higher brackets, you negotiate less aggressively. You don't push for overtime. You stay exactly where you are financially while the people who do understand it keep moving. So let's fix it permanently. Here's how tax brackets actually work. The US uses a progressive tax system. Different chunks of your income get taxed at different rates. Think of it as a stack of buckets. Your first roughly $11,900 of taxable income fills bucket 1 at 10%. Once it overflows, the next $36,000 fills bucket 2 at 12%. Bucket 3 starts at 22%. Each bucket keeps its own rate permanently. And the money already in the lower buckets never gets repriced just because your top dollars moved higher. Real example, Sarah earns $90,000. After a standard deduction of roughly $15,000, her taxable income is about $75,000. Her actual tax bill works out to roughly $11,500. An effective rate of roughly 13 to 15%, not 22%. If she gets a $5,000 raise, the government takes about $1,100 of the new money. She keeps $3,900 every single time. You will never ever take home less money by earning more. This is not a loophole. This is just how the math works. I will die on this hill, and I will die right. Use pre-tax 401k contributions to reduce your taxable income, which can push some of your earnings into lower buckets, which we'll come back to shortly. There's a number following Sarah around that she's never really paid attention to, and it's been silently determining the price she pays for almost everything involving borrowed money. Her credit score. It's a number between 300 and 850. The formula has 5 inputs: payment history at 35%, credit utilization at 30%, length of credit history at 15%, credit mix, and new inquiries splitting the rest. 5 inputs, 1 number, enormous consequences. Take a $300,000 30-year mortgage. A borrower with excellent credit, 760 and above, might get a rate around 6.5% and pay about $1,900 a month. A borrower with fair credit, 620 to 640, might get 8.5% and pay about $2,300. That's $400 a month difference. Over 30 years, that's nearly $145,000 in extra interest payments. Same house, same neighborhood, same mortgage amount. The only variable is 3 digits most people couldn't accurately describe if you ask them right now. The myths around credit scores are persistent and expensive. 41% of Americans believe carrying a small balance every month helps their score. It doesn't. You are just paying interest for literally no reason, donating money to a bank that does not need it, based on advice that was never true. 27% think checking their own score lowers it. It doesn't. Checking your own score is a soft inquiry. The bank doesn't even see it. And 1 in 5 Americans has an outright error on their credit report right now, silently dragging their score down, and has absolutely no idea. What actually moves the needle? Pay everything on time, every time. This alone is 35% of your score. Keep utilization below 30%. Don't close old cards. Don't apply for 5 new ones in a month, and check your report at annualcreditreport.com because errors don't fix themselves and the mistake might be costing you thousands on every loan you take. Some people are terrified of all debt and avoid leverage that could genuinely build wealth. Others carry 22% credit card balances like it's just part of life. Both are wrong because good debt and bad debt are fundamentally different animals. Good debt builds value or earning power. A mortgage on a property that appreciates, a student loan for a degree that leads to a career earning meaningfully more than it cost. Bad debt finances things that depreciate or that you've already consumed. A 7-year car loan on something worth $10,000 less the moment you drove it off the lot. Credit card debt from a vacation you already forgot. And the interest rate is high. The asset disappears or loses value, and the payment follows you around like a bad smell you can't locate. The test: does this debt put money in my pocket over time or take it out? If you're carrying high interest debt right now, the avalanche method, paying the highest interest rate first, saves the most money mathematically. The snowball, smallest balance first, gets better real-world completion rates because humans respond to visible progress. Pick whichever one you'll actually finish. A slightly suboptimal strategy you complete beats a perfect one you abandon. One Thursday morning, Sarah's car makes a noise it has never made before. The mechanic quotes her $1,400. She doesn't have $1,400 in savings. 59% of Americans could not cover a $1,000 unexpected expense right now. And what happens next turns a bad day into a bad year. The repair goes on a credit card at 22%, gets paid with minimums, and that $1,400 ends up costing about $2,200 over 4 years. This is what living without an emergency fund actually costs. It's not just inconvenient, it's mathematically expensive. An emergency fund is a financial circuit breaker, 3 to 6 months of essential expenses sitting in a separate, high-yield savings account that you do not touch for anything that isn't a genuine emergency. Not a sale, not a trip, a real emergency. If you're starting from zero, the first goal is $1,000. That covers most car repairs, most medical copays, most of the one-off disasters that currently go straight to a credit card. $1,000 of breathing room changes the entire texture of your financial life. Because suddenly a bad day is just a bad day, not the beginning of a debt problem. Every dollar you spend has 2 price tags. The first is visible. It's the number on the receipt. The second is invisible, and most people never see it. It's what that dollar would have become if it had gone somewhere else instead. Economists call this opportunity cost, and once you start seeing it, you can't unsee it. The average American household spends $200 to $300 a month on subscriptions. The average guess when asked is around $80. That gap, the $150 disappearing every month into services people barely use, isn't just wasted. It's a job that money never got to do. $200 a month invested at 8% over 30 years is roughly $293,000. I'm sure that's not a dramatic lifestyle sacrifice. That's canceling the 3 streaming services you rotate through and the fitness app you open twice. The fix takes 20 minutes. Pull up your last 2 bank statements. Find every recurring charge. Flag anything unused in the last 30 days. Cancel it or make a deliberate decision to keep it. For most people, that recovers $50 to $150 a month without changing their life in any meaningful way. It just stops the leak. Sarah is ready to build wealth. And here's where most people overcomplicate things catastrophically, picking stocks, chasing tips, moving money around based on news headlines, treating investing like a game of skill when the data says it's mostly a game of patience. Here's what actually works. Index fund investing through tax-advantaged accounts. Like an index fund owns a tiny slice of hundreds or thousands of companies simultaneously. Instead of picking the one stock that goes up, which even professional fund managers fail to do consistently, it just buys the whole market. Warren Buffett once bet $1 million that a simple S&P 500 index fund would outperform a curated portfolio of hedge funds over 10 years. The index fund won handily. The hedge fund managers had MBAs and decades of experience. The index fund had a computer and a very low fee. If Sarah's employer offers a 401k with any match, contributing enough to capture the full match is the single best financial move available to her. A 50% employer match is an instant 50% return before the money is even invested. There is nothing, no stock, no crypto, no side hustle that reliably competes with that. Not taking the full match is leaving free money on the table, and there's no more accurate way to describe it. Beyond that, a Roth IRA lets her invest after-tax dollars that grow completely tax-free. She pays taxes on the seed, not the harvest. The action: contribute enough to your 401k to get the full match. Open a Roth IRA, pick a low-cost index fund, automate contributions, then leave it alone. The entire strategy runs on patience, which is free. Sarah got a promotion. Salary went from $65,000 to $80,000. She upgrades her apartment, only a little more per month, leases a nicer car, finally something she actually likes, eats out more, buys better groceries, upgrades her wardrobe, all reasonable. She earned it. 12 months later, she feels almost identical to how she felt at $65,000. Welcome to lifestyle inflation. But every time income goes up, spending quietly rises to match, usually within 6 months, and the gap between what you earn and what you keep stays exactly the same. You work harder, earn more, and somehow the finish line moves with you. Psychologists call it the hedonic treadmill. Studies show people adapt to new income levels with remarkable speed. The raise that was going to change everything becomes the new normal faster than you'd believe. Here's what makes it genuinely dangerous. None of Sarah's individual upgrades felt reckless. The nicer apartment was only $200 more. The car upgrade was $300 more a month. Better groceries added $150. None of it felt like a decision. It felt like just living appropriately for who she'd become. But $200 plus $300 plus $150 invested at 8% over 25 years is over $600,000. That's not a dramatic sacrifice. That's just the compound cost of upgrading your life every time your income goes up. The fix: the moment a raise hits, before you adjust to the new number, automate at least half of the increase into investments before it ever touches your checking account. If you never see it, you never build your lifestyle around it. This is how people on ordinary salaries retire with extraordinary balances, not because they earned more, but because they refused to let lifestyle consume everything they earned. Insurance: not exciting, non-negotiable. Insurance is a seatbelt. You don't buckle it because you're planning to crash. You buckle it because if you do crash, you don't want the collision and the hospital bill and the bankruptcy arriving simultaneously. One bad event without the right coverage can erase years of financial progress in a way that's almost impossible to recover from. Renter's insurance costs $15 to $30 a month and covers every belonging in your apartment against fire, flood, or theft. Sarah has a laptop, a TV, a couch, clothes, kitchen equipment. Probably $15,000 to $20,000 worth of stuff when you actually count it. She spends $1,200 on her phone and $40 on a case to protect it. But she's skipping the $15 a month that would protect literally everything she owns. That's not a financial strategy. That's just not thinking about it. Health insurance is non-negotiable. One uninsured appendectomy runs $35,000. A single ER visit for a broken arm can hit $10,000. And if anyone depends on your income, and a $500,000 20-year term life policy costs a healthy 30-year-old roughly $20 to $30 a month. The price of 2 nice coffees a week, ensuring that if the worst happens, the people who depend on you don't lose their financial foundation on top of losing you. Insurance isn't where you build wealth. It's where you make sure wealth doesn't get destroyed. The goal isn't to collect on a claim. It's to make sure that when the worst day of your life arrives, and for most people, some version of it eventually does, it stays a personal tragedy instead of becoming a financial one too. Sarah started this video with $4,000 in a checking account and a vague sense she was probably doing okay. She ends it understanding why her money was melting, how compound interest is either her greatest ally or her most expensive enemy, why her tax bracket isn't the number she thought it was, what her credit score is costing her in real dollars, the difference between debt that builds and debt that drains, why an emergency fund isn't optional, what every forgotten subscription is actually worth over 30 years, how ordinary people build extraordinary wealth, why every raise she gets is at risk the moment it arrives, and what's standing between everything she's built and one very bad day. That's not a list of concepts, that's the entire operating manual for the financial system most of us are trying to navigate without instructions. Pick one thing from this video and do it today. Not all 10, that's a great way to do nothing. Open a high-yield savings account. Set up a $50 automatic investment. Check your credit report for errors. One thing, because the system has been running with the rules hidden for long enough. Now you know them. If this changed how you see any of it, subscribe. There's plenty more where this came from. And if you've got a friend still navigating all of this blind, sending them this video is probably worth more than any financial advice you could give them yourself.